Hello and welcome to France 24's weekly music show. My guest this week is Israeli mandolinist Avi Avital. With his unparalleled virtuosity and irresistible charisma, he's played in the biggest concert halls around the world. Wigmore Hall in London, Forbidden City Concert Hall in Beijing, Carnegie Hall in New York City. He's currently on tour here in France, and he's here in the studio to tell us more about his life work. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thanks for having me. So much fun.
For our viewers who aren't familiar with your work, you're quite a pioneer when it comes to mandolin playing. You were the first mandolinist to be nominated for a Grammy in the Best Instrumental Soloist category. You were the first mandolin player to sign a record agreement with the prestigious Deutsche Grammophon. Would you say that the mandolin has been traditionally somewhat overlooked in the classical world?
Definitely. I mean, it's the mandolin is at the same time both a very popular instrument in the music history, which made it suffer also from that, because it was like today's ukulele or guitar. You know, every house had a pluck string instrument, a mandolin, if you were in Italy in the 17th and 18th century, hanged on the wall. This was something to do, to play at home, to play with friends, not a stage, not a concert instrument, but something that everyone could play a little bit and have fun with it. So in one hand, it was very popular and very loved and amiable instrument. On the other hand, big composers never really paid attention to it as a serious instrument. And that's why the repertoire, actually, the music, if you look at the music history, the classical music history, it kind of ignores the mandolin as a concert instrument.
And so your goal is to kind of bring the mandolin back into its rightful place in the world.
Exactly.
What's so special about the mandolin?
Wow, the mandolin has so many secrets in it, so many references and so many metaphors. Because when you think of the mandolin, I mean, I realized after concerts, people come or write me on social media and so on, and I realized how many associations this brings to different people in different cultures. And not only the mandolin, it's the pluck strings family of instruments. So, it's the bouzouki in Greece, or the banjo in American music, or the oud in Arabic music, and the tar and the sitar and in Indian music, and so on and so forth. So there is something very ancient in the sound, in the action of plucking a string, and that sound that it brings, that is related to so many cultures and so many layers, and it's so ancient that it has everything in it. And well, discovering it through modern pieces, through just doing it is, it's the great part of being a mandolin player, I have to say.
Well, let's actually listen to you in action. Take a listen. Avi Avital. So that's a live performance of the song Maroc off your 2017 album Avital meets Avital, so an album you recorded there. You can see the bassist that is Omar Avital. You're very charismatic performer here.
Thank you.
You bring this kind of like rock star, bombastic style of music. We don't really associate that with classical music. Are you breaking the rules here?
Always, yeah, definitely. I mean, music is music. This is, I play also Vivaldi and Bach, and it has a different energy to it. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the one to judge. But this is definitely a project that crossed this kind of confinement of classical music, which is my nature. I don't see like the genres as something that confine me, but they're all, different dialects, if you want, of the same language. And this project especially was special for me because it was a collaboration with Omer Avital, who's we have a similar background, although he's a jazz player, and I came to this project as the classical mandolin player. But I was at that point I was the classical dude in the gang. but we share a lot of things in common. I mean, our family name is a coincidence, but also not, because it's an Israeli family name that comes from Morocco. So both our parents come from Morocco, immigrated to Israel in the 50s, in the 60s. And this phenomena that you have in Israel of, first generation Israeli born, but with roots in Moroccan and African music, and all the complexity of identity culturally with this phenomena surfaced a lot in this project, which was a revelation for both of us, although we come from different genres, so-called. But
well, it's interesting. You were talking about mixing genres there, classical music, jazz. You've also gone into all sorts of other areas as well, folk music. You're really kind of bringing the mandolin all over the place. What's next for you?
Wow, so many things. I mean, I literally played the last concerts of the year after a chain of 3 Everests that I climbed in the last month. One of them was a new ensemble that I've launched called Between Words Ensemble that brings into this large-scale ensemble this cross-genre, genre fluidity, if you want, between folklore and classical. So classical music, I was inspired by folklore, like Defaya and Bartok and so on, with some real folklore for these places, that involved, guest artists that are real folk musicians. So that is, I launched it, and now this will come back to me in the next year a lot. I just recorded a new album, which is now the editing thing. I recorded it with Giardino Armonico. It's an Italian Baroque group. Recorded Bach and Vivaldi and Hummel and some Neapolitan Baroque music. It's a lot of fun and very upbeat. So all this is now cooking and will come out in the new year.
Amazing. Well, we're looking forward to your new releases then. And talking about new releases, we're going to move on to some other music news that's making headlines. And the Tunisian jazzman, vocalist, and oud master d'affaires, Youssef, is releasing his 10th studio album in January. Streets of Minarets is about traveling to the 4 corners of the world in search of new sound, but also returning to familiar sounds like the call to prayer, hence the record title. Now, Youssef teamed up with some heavyweight guests for this album, including Herbie Hancock on the piano and Marcus Miller on bass. Streets of Minarets was mostly recorded at the historic Sunset Studio in Los Angeles. Check out this track. It's called Onde of Chakra. So, Avi, you've collaborated with a wide range of artists, very different styles as well. Do you have any dream musicians, dead or alive, that you would love to collaborate with?
Dead, many.
How much time do we have?
That's not a practical. No, yes, of course. This is, I mean, every musician. I just collaborated with a flamenco singer, Marina Heredia, and that's a genre that I wasn't familiar with, but she's about the best it can get for this genre, and I took so much from this collaboration. So it made me realize it's not about a specific genre, a specific musician that I would like to work with, but all these encounters with people that have mastered something.
Communicating with masters, and speaking of masters, we've got the Oscar-winning Japanese composer and pianist Ryuichi Sakamoto. He's releasing a new album. It's called 12. Now, Sakamoto is famous for film scores such as The Last Emperor, Little Buddha, The Revenant, but this new opus is a non-soundtrack solo studio album. Now, Sakamoto says he was inspired after coming home after receiving cancer treatment. He said, "I just wanted to be showered in sound." Take a listen. So, like other classical instruments, like the violin or the cello, the instrument you play with is very important to a musician. You have brought your mandolin with you. What's the story behind this? Is it a love at first sight, or did it take a long time to meet this instrument?
Yeah, no, obviously when I started to play the mandolin, I was playing beginner's instrument. This mandolin is made by an Israeli luthier, a mandolin maker, who had a little bit the same vision like I had, redefining the instrument, reintroducing it into the big hall. So the traditional mandolin was not responding to that. So we started this collaboration 25 years ago. I was in high school still. And it was really a back and forth of me giving him feedback of what do I need when I go on stage and how loud it should be and how many colors. And he would develop and create this wonderful instrument. This one specifically is from '98. That's my favorite among others that I have of his. And yeah, that's my voice.
So it's an instrument tailored for you, and you're actually going to play us a song. This is a Bulgarian folk song. You're going to take it away, but stay tuned to France 24. More news is coming up right after this, and do stay in touch on social media as well. Avi Avital, thank you so much for being our guest today. Take it away.